Hello everyone and welcome back to English 1510 Comp 1. Couple of overview things this week and a few reminders touching base on a couple of things that were covered already and a few questions and just some moving forward points, and then talking about what's going on for this week's part of the assignment and the weeks ahead. First and foremost, I want to remind students that announcements listed right here, the things for the course schedule and tentative plan of work, they're listed here up through the weeks. In the 4-week sections, I usually include at least the 1 week after as a buffer on there. This will obviously in a week and a half ahead here we're going to have this open up and then have your excuse me, weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, and probably 9 included on there at the very least. And then the last section will open up near the end of that 7th, 8th week on there. But this week we're looking at week 3. I want to touch base very quickly on some of these things once I go over a couple of refresh and reminds. On here, one thing is these are under announcements and I keep them there. I don't put them in modules in the content, so make sure you're following along on this home screen and you're watching these overview videos. Seems like between the sections of Comp 1 that are online, I have in the mid 80% of students having no issue following along, doing what they're supposed to be doing. I have another percentage that's broken up between a couple of categories, but one of the most concerning categories is the student that is either looking at the class and not engaging with any of the content, or has looked just once or twice and has not done anything else with the course. End grade period is coming to an end, coming up in the week ahead. I will mark those students with the registrar. You will be removed from the class, and you'll still be responsible for the tuition, but you will be removed from the class. Let me say, I do have students in every one of my sections right now that seem to be falling in that category. I have no work from them and no participation and no engagement, and I've posted things up already. I won't spend more time chasing those students around. I have enough engagement with students to deal with right now that want the time and attention, especially on the work. So let me say first and foremost, you had a couple of videos, particularly last week, where I still posted up from the fall semester because those overview most of the same things, with the exception of what I had updated in the Dropbox folder for that other video about the assignment itself. But the overview video, you may have those that list for this current semester. You may have them post that list a different semester in this listing at the top. If it's posted for the week in the overview, it covers the correct content, so don't worry about what it says up here. Concern yourself with what it says in the overview for that week. I do have some that I do use and just added the audio and a few portions of them from time to time that were made at a prior date. I can't do anything about what it shows on the screen. I do change what it says for the video linking, so it will say this week in the overview in the correct time slot. This week, this one's brand new because I had a couple of announcements to make. This is entirely start to finish just for this portion. Not saying that I won't use this one in the future, but this covers these ones for this particular semester. A reminder on here that anything that's been up for announcement is still under announcements in here. And for students, those are posted in here for some of the basics that are included. I have an announcement that I posted before and that has since gone down. I have the end date listed. I'm posting it here for viewing one last time before it expires and actually disappears. I saw most students did view. Just a reminder on grades from week 1 in memoir content. I hope you all enjoyed constructing those, and I just want to make sure that there's a reminder on here. They don't have to be true stories, and they didn't have to have all true content. I'm not looking for fantasy fiction. Typically something that's more on the realism that could be an actual event from your life. They typically do work best if you draw them from your own life. So that was the starting point. Remember with that. But no one's fact-checking the details that you put in these and coming back on you on those or asking you for proof of any event. Just don't make them lewd or inappropriate or anything. On here, I wanted to remind you guys, I'm still posting some of the grades from week 1. I waited until Monday to do the update on this and post this up. No matter the term, by this time in Comp 1, I usually have most of this posted. I do for all of these sections now. So by the time of this posting, that this may not be the case. I may have all of them up. At this time, I still did at a recording at the recording time, I still have a few, at least in the diagnostics, that need to be posted. Discussion board, anybody who engaged with and participated in that discussion board, those discussion posts were reviewed and posted. I had students who got 15 out of 20 and 20 out of 20. Remember that you had to both post your content for an introduction and then review and respond to at least one classmate. I truly appreciate those of you who engaged with more than one classmate. The more engagement, the better those forums work. I myself went through, and anyone who didn't have a response, I tried to make sure I at least gave you a response and a greeting to the class. I obviously can't do that with over 100 students each week on those, but I did my best to try and make sure you had at least some engagement and response on those. Some more than others. But in the weeks ahead, these forums are going to be used for peer review on the content that you're creating for your assignments. So make sure that you're up to date and engaged on these. You must post your own information and then also review classmates and post that in their thread, right? So for some students, you got the full points. For a few students, they didn't respond to a classmate as part of the directions on there, so that part would be a markdown. And then a few other students, like the FERPA forms and the FERPA and academic dishonesty forms and diagnostic writings, which were 3 things that you had to submit. I have pretty much the same handful of students between all my sections that didn't participate in discussion boards, nor hand in these forms, nor do the diagnostic. So there's not really anything that you can do about those things at this stage besides ask for perhaps late credit on these. I must have these forms in order to engage with a student. FERPA and the academic honesty safeguards, you already agree to it in your syllabus and when you register for the classes, but it safeguards me and any indication of those with the originality reports, and then FERPA has to do with our online communications. The diagnostic, remember, I use those to assess your placement, but also to make further tutoring recommendations. Everyone must have one tutoring session with the ASC, face-to-face or online for the term, and I need to get that form sent to me, forwarded to me, the confirmation that it was completed, and I will give extra credit for those, even your one required. But I use these to make a recommendation basis on other assignments and whether or not you need to have further tutoring engagement as far as my recommendation is concerned. I can't force you to, but you get extra credit for all of them, and if you do get a recommendation that tells you to go through there during a drafting stage, I recommend you heed that recommendation. That's redundant, but I recommend that you follow through on that because I'm making those recommendations based on the types of errors and issues you have in your writing. Okay, make sure you pay close attention to those. So as a review, those things are pretty much all posted. The only things that I don't have posted up with students right now are for pretty much those students who didn't engage. So. This week 3 overview, we're now moving into the memoir. This weekend you had to submit the summary and outline, which was a 250-word summary, and then the template that you filled out, removing any examples and filling out incomplete statements. I had students who sent me questions, and I had students who submitted that both caused concern this week. One being questions that I got from a few students, not talking about students with your unique situations where you were, you know what your problems were, and we had ongoing discussion in some of these situations. Students who asked me questions regarding things that were very specifically covered in last week's overview. 3 out of the 5 questions I got just in the last couple days about submission that was due this Sunday. Were not only covered once, they were covered 2, maybe 3 times in that overview video. I also took you guys in that overview video through the things that were in the Dropbox, including the file that you had to fill out and how, and then went through and showed you again. There was an instructional video about memoirs themselves and the constructional formation of moving into drafting and just the concept of them in that Dropbox. I had students who did not do that correctly or put in the template and you just have single words and nothing really for me to go on, or you didn't remove the sample pieces or anything. So those are really problematic. You need to make sure you're watching any videos that are posted for your course. They cover the week's instructions. You're in an online asynchronous course, which means you have agreed to follow along with an online asynchronous schedule, including instruction. That doesn't mean you can now defer to email to send me 3-4 page emails of questions rather than following the instructions on these things, or even the brief ones that cover the content here specifically. I got a couple of them that were very problematic in terms of demonstrating you did not only did you not read instructions on here, you certainly didn't even watch the overview video. If that continues week to week, we are going to have some serious issues when it comes to submissions. And I'm not giving continuations or extensions. I don't accept late work, and I particularly don't make exceptions for students who don't take the time to actually even read what's in this tentative schedule plan of work. The overview videos that are made are the additional instructions, and sometimes videos in the additional drop boxes. So, having said that, this week, overview video will be posted here, obviously, for week 3 overview. And in week 3, we're moving into an area where now we're into the drafting stage. So, everyone's summary outline went in this Sunday. Mostly every student has all the grade stuff posted up for diagnostic, FERPA form, academic honesty, and then the discussion board thread that you either you either posted and responded to someone else's, started your own thread and then responded, or just posted yours and got knocked down on a little bit of those points. But it be that as it may, now we're going to have a new discussion board that's for peer review. So remember, now that we're into the drafting stage, you have a drafting stage where we work on peer review and tutoring session. You do not have necessarily, you won't have the same type of feedback that comes back on a rough draft from me as you'll see on those diagnostics. I don't go through line by line. I look for the basics, that the word count and things are covered, the format is correct, that your story still meets the structuring components that were in the summary outline, and then I post those up with a percentage. If you're going through for feedback on the ones from the instructor, remember that in rough draft stages you have to defer to your general grading rubric. Okay? Rough draft stages are a points and credit-based response only. I can't do every single week, have turn around with 100 different students in an online and another 50 face-to-face and be able to do that line by line like I did with diagnostic. I do that because it's a bit shorter and it gives you an idea of the sentence level stuff and recommendation for tutoring. These ones you'll have to defer to for those percentages, and that's why we do the peer review form and discussion. So make sure you take those seriously. Week 3, your readings are posted. The draft for the memoir is due this Sunday by 11:30 p.m. You also need to take a copy of that draft that you write and post it into your own thread in the discussion board for memoirs. You can access those here under it says availability ends, or you can go up through the discussion forum right here again. And then make sure that you have read and reviewed to classmates and posted to their thread no later than next Thursday during week 4. That makes sure that they get a feedback response graded gives a feedback response from a classmate, and then also that I can give you some type of a grade and feedback on the summary outline by that time, so you have 2 things to go off of plus your tutoring session before you're going through and finalizing this draft for the final draft submission. Now this one I will go through and mark everyone's and also give everyone an opportunity to rewrite once those are posted, but not with drafting stages, so make sure you're clear on that. The discussion board forums are always listed up here. They obviously close out when they're done. The memoir one is here. You would obviously click on here, read through the instructions of what you have to review on your classmates, start your own thread where you post your essay for review, and then go through and read and review a classmate's. Remember, the rough draft is due this Sunday along with the posting into that discussion board. Your response to a classmate's has to be done by next Thursday. 11:30 p.m. next Thursday, not this week, but after your rough draft's due. So here for the rough draft this week, everyone has the same content. Everyone has the same content on these. We're looking at the submission of a rough draft, and all of it's covered again here in the content. The requirements are fairly basic. Some of yours might say 700 words on this. It's for the rough draft, it's 600. The final 700 to 1,000. I think everybody around 800 is usually good on those, 900. But 600 minimum for those. So you're looking at least 2 full pages. It's going to be probably about 2.5. Make sure you note no second person usage in these. Start getting rid of contractions, because in rhetorical analysis and reports you won't be allowed to use those. So start weeding them out where you can. Make sure all the MLA basics are covered. There's further instructions instructions just reminding you on a lot of these things about what the requirements were. They didn't change from the summary outline, and then the template things are included again. All right, if you have questions, remember it's easier to get me here in the messaging, but just make sure that you're covering this stuff in the overviews.